Hello and thanks for joining us on TVC News at 1. Ahead of Saturday's local government election in Lagos State, the police command has revised the timing for the restriction of vehicular and waterways movement. To accommodate residents with medical emergencies and scheduled international travel, the restriction will now run from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. and not 3 a.m. as earlier announced. The Police Commissioner, CP Olohundare Jimo, assures residents of a secure and orderly poll and urges full cooperation with security personnel. He also calls on residents to report suspicious activities via these emergency lines 08063 299 264 or 080 6515 4338. Let's expand further on this as we bring in public affairs analyst Femi Lawson. He joins me virtually. Good to have you join us.
Thank you, Precious. Thank you for having me.
So a landmark stride that we have seen in this year's preparation is the expansion of polling units. Now it is 13,325 polling units across 376 electoral wards. How better positioned would you say LASIEC is to conduct this year's election?
Thank you, Precious. See, the landmark, decision of LASIEC to expand, the number of polling units in this election, particularly as it now accommodates the reality of the local council development, authorities. In the past, we've relied majorly on those polling units as established by INEC to conduct local government elections in Lagos. So it is impressive that LASIEC is exercising its independence as a state independent electoral commission. And I must give commendation to the preparation of LASIEC towards this election taking place tomorrow, especially in its approach towards engaging stakeholders, in the electoral process. The political parties, the media have been actively engaged, the civil society, and to some extent the citizens. But unfortunately, some of this development, like this expansion of the number of polling units, have not been well communicated to the people. They were limited, civic education and advocacy and enlightenment in regards of this, expansion in the number of polling units. And I think this is one lesson that LASIEC must take away from this election ahead of future elections in the states.
So in the last local government election, one of the things that we also saw was a very low voter turnout. It hovered at just around 11%. And at that time, it was a pool of over 6.5 million eligible voters. Has enough been done to galvanize voters this time? And what are your expectations in that regard?
For me, I've repeatedly said this. You see, the question of voters' mobilization, achieving impressive turnout of voters, a lot of time we look at the Electoral Commission in the case of national elections, INEC in the case of these state elections, is the LASIEC. But the truth is that these electoral commissions are not actually responsible, for voters' education. Unfortunately, we have a situation where political parties have not been doing enough in what is expected of them in the area of voters' education. It is actually the duty of political parties to educate voters, to sensitize voters, and mobilize voters for elections, not necessarily the duty of electoral commissions. And in this case, I've not seen any significant improvement in the conduct of our political parties in the build-up to these elections. Majorly, they are focused on political party members and their own campaigns, not necessarily citizens' mobilization for this election. So don't be surprised by tomorrow that we may not have much of that impressive turnout of voters as we may expect, compared to what we have experienced in the past.
We can also tie that to the general narrative and perception of local government elections, where it is believed that the winner takes it all, and the winner at this point is always the ruling party in the state. Do you also think that much has been done to rebuild public trust? And is there enough time? Is that still time to rebuild that trust?
There have been time, but the complacency of our political parties is not helping. I have witnessed campaigns by political parties, even in Lagos, in the build-up to this election, and I have seen tendencies, the possibility, even of some very, what you call small political parties, winning elections, particularly into councillorship positions in this upcoming election, if we're utilized. But you know, there's this complacency on the part of our political parties that, oh, it's a state election, the incumbent takes it all. But we have had situations in this same country where the opposition have won election into councillorship or even into chairmanship positions during local government election. But you cannot sit back and not participate in an election and not expect the ruling party to dominate the outcome of that election, because they have the machineries, they have the structures to mobilize people to vote and canvass people to vote for their political party. As the case of APC in Lagos State, APC have structures across every ward, local government in Lagos, enough members to canvass people to vote for, especially when no other person is coming to canvass for the support of eligible voters. But I have also seen where opposition political candidates have gone out to canvass for support, and they have gathered, enough support to win elections in tomorrow's election. But for me, it has to do with the fact that we have to be persistent. Opposition political parties have to be serious, and just jettison this idea of, oh, it's a winner takes it all for the ruling party, and it's really worrisome, because in the real sense of it, elections are not going to just be conducted in the dark. They're not going to be conducted in the boardroom of the LASEC. There'll be observers, there'll be the media, there'll be monitors even from outside Lagos State for tomorrow's election. So if you are really serious about participating in this election, there's nothing making it impossible for candidates of other political parties to win in such elections, except for the complacency, like I said, of our political parties.
And we're hoping that voters turn out, because this is our immediate expression of democracy, and it's important that we participate in it. The most important one at that. Thank you so much for your time, political affairs analyst Femi Lawson.
Thank you, Precious.